Hi there, it's time for another mailbag episode. I have enough questions that I can do at least 3 of these. I'm here on a little bit of a vacation. First vacation me and my partner have taken in over 10 years. A friend invited us to a bit of a resort on Vancouver Island. So we just got a lot of nothing to do. But I thought, hey, this is an opportunity for you to see some, different environment than you usually do. I don't have a huge amount of power left in this phone. We're going to go through as many of the questions as I can. These questions are going to be not directly board game related, but are going to be questions about me or some of the other things I do besides board gaming. So tell us a bit about your pizzeria and how you meld the hobby with your restaurant. I just cannot imagine greasy fingers holding a handful of cards. How do you regulate play, if you do? And do you have any interesting stories to tell about your customers, related to board games, of course? I did talk about this, but a long time ago. So, the most common model is a board game cafe, right? So you come, maybe you pay an entry fee, and you stay and you play board games as much as you want. What we try to do with Ludica is to have a model of meal plus game. So you're expected to order food. There's no entry fee. You order food, a meal, presumably, and then after the meal, you can stay for a while and play a board game. But you're not expected to stay, hours and hours and hours. There is a time limit, but it's a pretty generous one if you were to play a game after your meal. So, about 2 hours, right? At least on busy times. If it's not busy, of course, you can stay longer. But if we need the tables, 2 hours is kind of the maximum. And 2 hours for a board game night would be very short. But again, we're not trying to do that model of, I'm just going to go out and play board games all night or all day, right? Play a board game or a couple of shorter ones or one longer one. None of the games we have are longer than 90 minutes. I think the longest we have is Scythe, and I know that usually goes much longer than 90 minutes, but I think the box says like 100 or something, so we're like, well, it's kind of borderline. Some of the games get damaged over time, by greasy fingers or water being spilled or whatever. In practice, those are usually only the more popular games. So, Catan and Ticket to Ride, these games, Catan especially, Cards Against Humanity, these games will get used up, right? They'll get Dixit, another one. They'll get wrecked. And, so as part of our costs, we have to replace these games regularly. So, as a hobbyist, if you go to our restaurant to play Catan, you might find, depending on where in the lifespan of our Catan copy it is, you might find it a little bit, not gross, but well loved, well used, lots of wear on the cards. It's not as big a problem, I think, as people think it would be, because what I found is that the games that are a little bit maybe rarer, a little more niche, but a little more valuable, the hobbyists are aware of that, and I find most of them treat the games with a great deal of respect. So those games will get the occasional piece missing. We won't replace a game if it just has a piece or two missing. We imagine people will just, make do. But, otherwise the games are actually in pretty good condition, with the exception of the really, really popular ones. It used to be when we opened that the idea was it's fork and knife pizza, because it originated as Neapolitan pizza. We don't usually say it's Neapolitan because that puts some expectations. Like, our margaritas are really competitive with any margaritas you'd find in Vancouver. I believe so. But anyway, it's fork and knife pizza, right? It used to be in the early days, we didn't even cut the pizza. We just gave you the whole thing, because they're all like, individual size. They're like 12-inch. We give you a fork and knife with the meal, and you cut it so your hands would be clean. But we've relaxed on that. I do not have any funny stories regarding board games and Ludica. It's not off the top of my head. You have a Star Control 2 fan micro badge. What is Star Control 2, and why are you a fan? Star Control 2 was one of the greatest and most influential computer games ever made. And it's old. It's, I think, maybe very early 90s, like 91, 92, 93, something like that. But influenced so many games that came after, notably like Mass Effect, some of those games. I think there was something like 1,000 stars that you could explore, and you would explore, you would find alien races. There are ones that you already knew about because it is Star Control 2, but then you'd find a lot more. And there's a bit of negotiations, dialogue with the species. You can play it for free now. The company that made it, they were called Toys for Bob, a development studio. They don't own the rights to the name Star Control, but you can get it for free from SourceForge. I think it might even be on Steam, called Urquan Masters. And I have the micro badge. I highly encourage you. They've modified the game. They've improved it. There's mods that people have made it to kind of make it a little bit more of a modern. It's still the exact same game, but maybe punched it up a tiny bit in terms of presentation. And they're finally making a sequel now. There was a sequel that was made previously, but that was done by a different development house, and let's say it wasn't canon. That was Star Control 3. But the original team, which has a development studio now called Shrimp Pistol, and they are going to make a version, a sequel to Urquan Masters, which they call, the series is now called Free Stars. And I was in on that Kickstarter 100%. Great game. I would recommend you check out the free version. Another micro badge question: what's your favorite MF Doom track? Okay, so I've got an MF Doom micro badge because there was a guild member who was asking people to buy his micro badges. I think he was trying to get to some like threshold. I don't know. Maybe so he can get like another micro badge that says he's a micro badge designer. But anyway, so that was one he made that I bought, MF Doom. My son is really into hip hop, and he's a fan of MF Doom. So he often will put on music while we play games. So I ended up listening to a lot of MF Doom. I'm a fan, but I wouldn't say I have a favorite song of his. My son really likes basically the whole like Mad Villainy album with Madlib, and I admit it's very like good artistically. Not as fun to listen to as the collaboration with Danger Mouse, which was I really like that album. My son's not going to appreciate this, but my favorite song that at least involved MF Doom, this is an obscure one, is called More Soup, because it was a collaboration with a Vancouver rapper and singer named Mocha Only. And I was so surprised to find out that Mocha Only and MF Doom worked together on a song. So I'm going to say that one. Someone once described MF Doom as, he might not be your favorite rapper, but he might just be your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. And I really like that. I'm aspiring to be that for board game YouTubers. I might not be your favorite board game YouTuber, but it might just be your favorite board game YouTuber's favorite board game YouTuber. Favorite animated movie when you were young, favorite animated movie now. It's not a genre that I think about a whole lot. Like, it's not like I'm a huge fan of animation just for the sake of animation. My favorite animated movie, like, in history, is probably The Incredibles. It's still probably the greatest superhero movie ever made. When I was a kid, maybe it would have been Transformers the movie. If you were a Transformers fan, and I was when I was a kid, that was that first 20 minutes of the movie or whatever, absolutely incredible to any fan of Transformers. When I was older, I tried to get into heavy metal, which of course is a kind of a classic, more adult themed animated movie. Not a big fan of it as some of my friends were, but I kind of I appreciated it, but I wouldn't say I was a huge fan. I enjoyed Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That at least counts partially as animated movies. I wonder if the question asker is exploring any interest I may have in anime. And I will just say that I'm not really into anime. I'm more into it now than I was before, but not movies. you know, that Studio Ghibli stuff or whatever. I respect it, but I don't watch it for fun. I have watched some anime series and enjoyed it, but like the one that stood out the most, you know, I really enjoyed it with my son, was One Punch Man. Again, superhero thing. I love superhero stuff. How's your knee doing? Are you doing rehab exercises? Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. My knee is doing much better. The swelling is down. It's still some swelling a little bit, but it's mostly doing better. I still can't put too much weight on it yet. I feel so weird doing this.
Yeah?
Yeah, when other people can hear and see and everything, it's kind of embarrassing.
What are you doing?
I'm recording a YouTube video.
Oh, nice. What's your video about?
Well, it's a Q&A. People ask me a bunch of questions and I'm answering them.
Can I offer a question?
Sure.
What's the theme of the episode?
Oh,
It's just
there's not board game related. It's other things.
What's your favorite and least favorite board game that comes in a red box?
The theme is not board games. It's everything else. You're going to hear some background voices. But this mic is close to my mouth, so hopefully is okay. I hope it doesn't pick up too much other stuff. I still can't put too much weight on it, but I think that's because my muscles are atrophied a little bit, just, you know, not using them too much. You know, I've been using a cane for a fairly long time now, so, you know, the muscles aren't very strong in that knee. So I'm working on it, you know, trying to go for walks and stuff, with the hope of eventually traveling more as I get older. Do you have any other hobby? If not, and if there was no money or time constriction, which other hobby would you be keen to explore? I don't really have many other hobbies. The only one that comes close is I do collect a little bit of Lego. I'm not very creative, so I just buy the more adult-oriented sets and just, you know, build them over time. Lego is much, much more supportive to the adult fan than they used to be. They have sets that are more targeted to the adult fan. I'm really into the modular series of buildings, so I have a big collection of those, and I put them all together. So that's the closest thing I have to a second hobby, but I don't make like a big deal about it. If money was no object, I would probably get a few pinball tables. Some of my favorites, like Funhouse.
Funhouse?
Rudy? What question haven't you been asked that you would like to answer? I don't know. I won't answer it in this video, but one question that I sometimes ask myself is, if I was a board game publisher, what would be some of the decisions I make? What would be the style of presentation that I would do? What would, you know, the boxes look like? What games would I choose to print or reprint? Component choices. I think those are very interesting. Maybe I'll do a separate video on those. Okay, here's one for the end. Why are we here? Why are we here in this world? What are we doing? What's our purpose in life? I never found this to be as difficult a question as some people seem to think it is. We are here in this world to figure out what kind of person we are. Cat pics. Okay, I'll end it there. I'll fade out with a few cat photos, and hopefully that appeases the cat fan who asked that question. It's not a question, by the way. I need these in the form of a question. But fine, here are some cat pics to take us out. Thanks for watching. Remember, older board games don't stop being good just because newer games come out. Take care.